Tonight, dozens of large wildfires are raging across the West, forcing residents to evacuate. A small earthquake rattles parts of New York and New Jersey, and the new details coming in tonight about the victims in the deadly bar shooting rampage in Montana. First, the fast-moving Gifford fire exploding in size in central California, scorching nearly 40,000 acres, triggering mandatory evacuations in parts of Santa Barbara County and shutting down a major highway. It's just one of more than 30 uncontained large wildfires now burning in 11 states in the West, fueled by heat and dry conditions. And a flash flood threat targets the southeast again. Our weather team is standing by with the forecast. A new video of the 3.0 magnitude earthquake that shook buildings in parts of the tri-state area overnight. And as millions of Americans prepare for back-to-school shopping, tariffs are sparking concerns over school supply prices. Texas Republicans have advanced a plan to revise their congressional map to give the GOP an edge in the midterms. But some governors are crying foul. Others are threatening to take similar action across several states. How Texas Democrats are fighting back. 2 men have been charged with aiding the suspect in the murder of a family of 4 in Tennessee as the search for the suspect enters the 4th day. Police have identified the 4 victims in the deadly Montana bar shooting. Authorities warn the suspect, an Army veteran described as armed and dangerous, could come back to town. Also tonight, a family demands answers after a toddler in the custody of the state of Alabama died after being left in a hot car for 5 hours as temperatures soared above 100. The new details on the Pro Bowl linebacker arrested on felony weapons charges, what his team is saying tonight. Team USA makes a big splash at the World Swimming Championships. Pope Leo takes center stage, his message to more than 1 million young Catholics. And America Strong tonight, the 72-year-old Bay Area nun with a higher power.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis. A showdown in Texas. Democrats leave the state to delay a bill that redraws the state's congressional map. But we do begin tonight with gusty winds, bone-dry conditions, and scorching heat, igniting multiple wildfires across the West. More than 30 uncontained large wildfires are now burning in 11 states, including California, Arizona, and Utah. In Riverside, California, ground and air crews are just starting to get the upper hand in the Oak Fire, now 50% contained. Wildfires north of the border in Canada creating a haze over the skies from Minnesota to Maine. The smoke is now pushing east. And new video of the 3.0 magnitude earthquake that shook buildings in parts of the tri-state area overnight. Our weather team is standing by with the forecast. But first, Melissa Dunn leads us off from California.
Multiple growing wildfires burning across the West tonight, fueled by gusty winds, bone-dry conditions, and scorching heat. Evacuations in place in San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara counties. This trail camera capturing the fast-moving Gifford fire, now burning about 40,000 acres and injuring at least 3 people. In Riverside, east of Los Angeles, ground and air crews getting the upper hand on the Oak Fire, stopping the forward progression. Flames and thick smoke spreading across parts of Arizona after authorities arrested a driver for allegedly starting the Kirkland fire. Communities in the surrounding area now preparing to evacuate. The dangerous fire weather impacting parts of Utah and Colorado, where humidity is below 10% and wind gusts are topping 35 miles per hour.
This is a tough one. It's been a long time since we've had a fire of this magnitude.
Hazy skies blanketing cities like Chicago and Minneapolis, not from those flames out west, but the more than 700 Canadian wildfires now triggering air quality alerts in the Midwest and now Northeast.
We could see some smoky haze mixed back in with the sunshine on Monday.
The concerns come after the tri-state area was jolted by a magnitude 3.0 earthquake overnight, just miles outside New York City in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. No reports of damages or injuries. Lindsay, red flag warnings are in place across the Southwest. That's where these fires are burning. So those conditions plus this extreme heat are only making it more challenging for firefighters. Lindsay.
Melissa, thank you. And let's get right to meteorologist Danny Beckstrom from our New York station WABC. Danny, good evening. Tell us about the dangerous and now deadly flash flood threat that you're tracking in the southeast.
Yeah, the extremes, right, Lindsay? The Southwest, too hot, too dry, while in the Southeast, we're seeing too much rain too quickly. This morning, the bullseye in eastern Alabama, where tragically one person lost their life in the dangerous flooding in Cleburne County. The heavy rain and flash flooding continue in the region tonight, with flood watches in place from Atlanta down to Tallahassee. Downpours take us through the overnight hours with a lull Monday morning before another round fires up by midday. In the southern plains, severe storms on deck, bringing the threat for damaging wind, large hail, and a few isolated tornadoes into tonight, especially for the Texas Panhandle. Well, meanwhile, in the Northeast, air quality alerts are expanding as wildfire smoke shifts east, now in place from Minnesota to Maine for sensitive groups, and that does include here in New York City. We were just added to the alert with that haze moving into tomorrow. Lindsay?
Danny, thank you. Now to Texas Republicans advancing a plan to revise their congressional map in an attempt to give the GOP an edge in the midterms. Tonight, Texas Democrats left the state to delay passage of the bill. This is some governors are crying foul and others are threatening to take similar actions across several states. ABC's senior White House correspondent Selena Wang has the very latest.
A high-stakes showdown in Texas tonight as House Democrats flee the state to delay a controversial Republican-led push to redraw the congressional map in cities like Austin, Houston, and Dallas. The proposed map could flip 5 seats from likely wins by Democrats to Republicans. The move could help them keep their razor-thin House majority by carving up cities like Deep Blue Austin into multiple red districts, leaving just one Democratic stronghold in the center. That new map would force 2 sitting Democrats, Congressman Greg Casar and Lloyd Doggett, to run against each other.
If Donald Trump is allowed to violate the Voting Rights Act and strip voters of their rights here in Austin and in Texas, soon enough it'll spread across America.
Governor Abbott included redistricting in the state's special session because of what he said were race-based constitutional concerns from the Department of Justice. Texas Democrats furious, heading to Chicago tonight, but walking out can only delay passage of the bill, not stop it. House districts are redrawn every 10 years, but President Trump has urged Texas Republicans to do it now ahead of the 2026 midterms when control of Congress will be up for grabs.
On Texas, how many more seats do you want the Republicans to draw? 5.
This is an authoritarian move by the White House to try to make sure that they can rig the election, the midterm elections in 2026.
Some Democratic governors are threatening to retaliate. Gavin Newsom now pushing a special election in California to redraw the map in Democrats' favor ahead of those 2026 midterms.
And Lindsay, if this map passes through the Texas House and Senate, it's just the beginning. It's expected to kick off a legal battle and a political arms race. Other states, both red and blue, could do the same, redraw their own maps for political gain. Lindsay?
Lots more ahead on that front. Selena, thank you. Next tonight, as millions of Americans prepare for back-to-school shopping, the threat of more tariff turmoil is rattling some consumers and creating a budget crunch for others. And it's not just school supplies. The prices of everyday goods, from coffee to medicines, are expected to increase. Here's ABC's Christiane Cordero.
Tonight, with new tariffs set to go into effect this week, millions of Americans are bracing for impact. A recent report shows the tariffs implemented by President Trump are expected to cost the average American household an additional $2,400 this year. The prices of everyday goods, including bananas, coffee, medicines, and wine, all expected to increase. Clothing and shoes are expected to go up too. 97% of the apparel sold in the U.S. is made in Asia. And it comes as back-to-school season gets underway. More than a dozen states offering families some welcome relief with a sales tax holiday on certain items. Shoppers in Iowa taking advantage of the deal this weekend.
It's a little bit cheaper for families to get the things they need. So I feel like it's important.
The trade war also impacting small businesses like Ann's Diner in Port Huron, Michigan, which relies on a boost from Canadians crossing the bridge to eat breakfast before shopping at American malls.
I have not seen a French Canadian in here all summer, and we are a tourist town.
Ann Legg telling our Steve Osunsami this has been her worst summer in 30 years.
Actually, quite funny thing is I think I made more money during COVID than this summer.
The administration insists the tariffs will reshape global trade and boost American manufacturing long term. Today, adding a number of major trade deals are locked in and unlikely to change.
We have 8 deals that cover about 55% of the world GDP with our biggest trading partners, the EU and Japan and Korea and so on. And I expect that those matters are more or less locked in.
Some economists warn the combination of elevated tariffs and slow hiring could push the U.S. towards stagflation. Last month, inflation ticked up higher than expected, while a new jobs report showed hiring was weaker than expected. And Lindsay, now all eyes turn to the stock market tomorrow. Lindsay?
Christian, thank you. Next tonight, the urgent manhunt for a suspect after a quadruple murder in Tennessee. 2 men are now charged with aiding the suspect. Let's bring in ABC's Morgan Norwood. Morgan, what are you learning tonight?
But Lindsay, that manhunt, as you just mentioned, stretching into a 4th day down in Tennessee. And tonight, police have arrested and charged a second accomplice, alleged accomplice, with helping murder suspect Andre Austin Drummond get away. 29-year-old Giovante Thomas and 28-year-old Tanaka Brown, both in custody tonight. Police are pressing them for answers as this search intensifies for Drummond, who they say is considered armed and dangerous. He's accused of killing 4 family members, among them a young couple. Their 7-month-old baby found hours later, abandoned in a car seat at a stranger's yard. That baby is safe tonight. And Lindsay, that reward growing once again. Authorities are offering $17,500 for tips leading to Drummond's arrest. Lindsay?
Morgan, thank you. And there are new details tonight in a separate manhunt, this one in Montana. Today, prosecutors released the identities of the victims in Friday's mass shooting at a bar in Anaconda. They include Nancy Kelly, who was tending the bar that morning. All 4 victims were between the ages of 59 and 74. Meanwhile, the search for suspect Michael Paul Brown is now in its 3rd day. Authorities are concerned that he might come back to town. Overseas now to Rome, and Pope Leo, greeted like a rock star and delivering a powerful message to more than 1 million young Catholics. The so-called Catholic Woodstock was the American pontiff's first major appeal to the next generation, why it's critical for the church's future. Here's ABC's Marcus Moore.
Tonight, the Vatican hoping scenes like this, a crowd of more than 1 million young people from nearly 150 countries, will energize the church's push to appeal to the next generation of Catholics. The Catholic Youth Festival on the outskirts of Rome, the highlight of the Vatican's 2025 Holy Year, this week's Youth Jubilee. Pope Leo is the Catholic Church's first American pope, something special for the many Americans there. Here you could see American flags waving above the massive crowd at Tor Vergata Field.
It was beautiful. It was powerful to receive his blessing and to know that he is our Father. He is our Holy Father.
Pope Leo calling for peace amidst the man-made tragedies unfolding in conflicts across the globe. His message, one of hope and healing for the world's youth.
We are with the young people of Gaza. We are with the young people of Ukraine.
Lindsay, Pope Leo clearly making an effort to connect with young people. There was today's Mass with more than 1 million people. And then just a day ago, he met with young Catholic influencers, encouraging them to share the church's message of hope. Lindsay.
Telling the young people a different world is possible. Marcus, thank you. Now to a renewed push for a hostage deal in Gaza. It comes as hunger and starvation ravage the region. A humanitarian aid organization says it was targeted by the Israeli artillery overnight. Let's get right to ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell in Tel Aviv tonight. Ian, what can you tell us about this new deal?
Yeah, so Steve Witkoff met with the families of hostages still being held. It was a closed-door meeting, but we've managed to obtain some of the audio from it. What he told them was, we are very, very close to a solution to end this war. What does that mean? Well, he says that Hamas has said that they are prepared to demilitarize, which is frankly mystifying because publicly, at least, that's not what they're saying. He also says that there's a plan to bring all hostages home at once. Again, mystifying because they're struggling to bring even small groups home over the last few weeks. An Israeli official also telling ABC News tonight that Prime Minister Netanyahu is pushing to expand the military operation to release the hostages through a military solution. Is that America's solution? We don't know at the moment. The hostage forum that represents the families says Netanyahu's leading Israel to doom. Lindsay?
And Ian, while we have you, Witkoff is also planning to meet with Russian officials as a deadline for a ceasefire approaches. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we don't know the details. The White House has been strangely silent about this. He did meet Vladimir Putin back in April, so it's reasonable to expect that he's going to meet officials again, pressing the case for a ceasefire that President Trump has been pressing. And perhaps discussing the president's deadline with the threat of sanctions unless Russia agrees to a ceasefire. That deadline comes into effect next Saturday. There's so far no signs of Russia being concerned by it, escalating its bombing of civilian areas, which the president recently described as disgusting. Trump also recognizing the limitations of trying to pressure Russia with sanctions, saying, I don't know that sanctions bother him. Lindsay?
Putin seeming to shrug them off at this point. Ian, thank you. Back here in the U.S., a family is demanding answers after the tragic death of a 3-year-old in Alabama. A contractor for the state agency responsible for child welfare has been charged after he was allegedly left in a hot car for 5 hours when temperatures topped 100 degrees. More now from ABC's Rena Roy.
Tonight, a demand for answers over the death of 3-year-old Katorius Starks Jr., who police say was left in a hot car for hours in Birmingham, Alabama. The young boy, whose nickname was KJ, laid to rest this weekend.
It hurts. It hurts bad. It hurts deeply because they failed him, and it makes me feel like we failed him as well.
Authorities say officers were called to the scene of an unresponsive child back on July 22nd, saying KJ, who was in foster care, was accidentally left in the car while in the custody of a contracted worker through the Alabama Department of Human Resources. That day, a heat advisory was in effect with temperatures in the 90s, the heat index topping 100 degrees for several hours. The Starks family attorney saying the car was like a furnace and that KJ was left inside for more than 5 hours while the caretaker was at home after taking him on his weekly visit to see his biological father. 54-year-old Kella Stanford arrested and charged with leaving a child unattended in a car as a person for hire responsible for their care, a felony that carries up to 20 years in prison if convicted.
Please stand with us until this investigation is over so we can see justice and to make sure this never happens to another child.
ABC News has reached out to the Alabama Department of Human Resources for comment, but we have not yet heard back.
And Lindsay, so far this year, at least 19 children have died in hot cars, 7 of those deaths last month alone. Lindsay?
Rena, thank you. Still ahead on World News Tonight this Sunday, the death of a beloved Hollywood actress. A traffic stop turns into an arrest on felony charges for an NFL linebacker, and a moment not seen since the 1400s. Next tonight, felony charges against an NFL linebacker. The Chargers' Denzel Perryman now held without bail in Los Angeles. Authorities say they found 2 assault-style rifles among 5 firearms in his car during a Friday night traffic stop. The Chargers say that they're still gathering information. His agent says Perryman's advisors are working with legal counsel. In eastern Russia, more of nature's power on display. A volcano Russian scientists say was dormant 600 years erupted overnight. Hours later, an earthquake triggered tsunami warnings. Scientists say both events may be connected to last week's 8.8 magnitude quake in the region. When we come back, the United States makes a big splash at the World Swimming Championships. Back now with some sad news from the world of entertainment. Lonnie Anderson, best known for her role on the comedy WKRP in Cincinnati, has died. Anderson made it big when she took on the role of sassy receptionist Jennifer Marlowe at the fictional Cincinnati radio station. She was also known for her personal life, which included a marriage to fellow sex symbol Burt Reynolds. Lonnie Anderson was 79. At the World Swimming Championships, the U.S. saved its best for last. The women's 4x100 medley team broke its own world record in today's final race in Singapore. Reagan Smith, Kate Douglas, Gretchen Walsh, and Tori Husk bested the old mark by 29 hundredths of a second. When we come back, a real case of sister power on display. Finally, America strong. The Bible says I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. One nun took it to heart. Sister Pat Farrell has always prayed for strength. It's just that now she does it a little more literally.
I like to think that I'm carrying on part of our tradition in service of others for the gospel.
The 72-year-old nun is a member of the Dominican Sisters of San Rafael in California. She lives here at this convent and has just taken up weightlifting.
Press.
For the past 4 months, faith and fitness for her have gone hand in hand here at the Yard, a gym she frequents in San Francisco.
And they really grew over these 4 months. It's really amazing.
Her gym mates and trainers are impressed.
Absolutely blown away.
Man, has she made an impact.
These are my gym bros.
She initially started training to improve her health, but she's now taking it to the next level, competing in her first powerlifting competition, benching 77 pounds and deadlifting 160 pounds, which is more than her body weight, winning first place for Masters women in her weight class. Perhaps answered prayer. Thanks so much for watching. David is back here tomorrow. I'm Lindsay Davis. Good night.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row.